Kansas City is one of the birthplaces of jazz. This city helped shape the sound of America. And today, we're not starting the conversation, we're starting with the music itself. We're coming to you live from the new Vine Street studio, and we're honored to open this session with a performance from one of Kansas City's most globally celebrated jazz voices, Deborah Brown. Deborah Brown is an artist whose career has taken her across the world, from major international festivals to stages throughout Europe and beyond, carrying the Kansas City sound with her. So before we sit down and talk about that journey, we're going to experience it the way it was meant to be heard, live, in the room, in the moment. After the performance, stay with us. We'll be back with Deborah for a conversation about her life, her music, and her connection to Kansas City. For now, let's begin. Let's take a moment now to talk about the journey behind the music, how it started, where it's taken you, and what it means to bring it home. Let's get into it. Deborah, you've built incredible international career. When you introduce yourself today, how do you describe who you are as an artist?
Oh, well, Pat, I tell people that I'm an international jazz singer. And because jazz is so wide, I always tell them that it's part tradition and it's also part modern
Part modern and part tradition.
because you have to bring the old up with the new that it meets again. Because there's so much jazz, so many different styles. But I want them to know that I'm a bebop singer that puts it in the tradition. And I want them to know that I'm an international jazz singer, which kind of puts it in a modern. So it's somewhere the combination. That's how I describe myself.
What first pulled you into jazz, and when did you realize it was going to take you beyond Kansas City?
Oh, what pulled me into jazz was my dad.
Your dad?
My dad, every Saturday, he played music, jazz music, and he only listened to bebop music. And he was a trombonist, but he was working as a in an office, basically.
Oh yeah,
He
yeah.
was working at the federal government.
Federal building, yeah.
And he was a remarkable man, but his way to get a release from the stress was every Saturday he would go down and he played all his records. So he liked UB Green. He liked so many different. He liked Charlie Parker and anything that was jazz, you know. And so that's what he would play every Saturday. And when you say pulled me in, it didn't pull me. It actually, in a way, kind of made me angry because he was spending all his time in the basement and then with us. But I was listening to the music, and whenever there was a singer on the music, it would be something like bebop, like King Pleasure, John Hendricks, people like that. And that's how I heard jazz music. But I didn't know particularly that was jazz. That's what pulled me in. And I didn't know that I was going to be beyond Kansas City. I had no idea. The only time I think, like when I went overseas, was a girlfriend of mine had gone to Japan. And I thought, I'd never been jealous of anyone. But when she said she was going to Japan to sing, I thought, I'm never going anywhere. And but she came back a week later and said she couldn't handle it. I said, can you give me your agent? And I got a chance to go over there, and I stayed over for 3 months, and I did that twice.
So what have been your experiences like leaving the United States and going to Europe and Asia? What about it did you love?
Well, I love the fact that I was going overseas. I mean, just to get on a plane was because most of my career we spent in a car, driving hours and hours between jobs. I mean, once we went to Louisiana, all the way up to Winnipeg, Manitoba. It took all night, and then we got there, and we were so exhausted. And they said, "Well, you have to get ready because your first show is at 5 o'clock in the afternoon." I don't even know how we did it, but that was so. If somebody said, "Well, let's take a plane and let's go overseas," oh, I'm on my way. So my first overseas trip was I went to the Aleutian Islands. I went to Australia, the Midway Island in the South Pacific. And that was just a fascinating trip for me. And I thought this will never happen again. So I didn't think that was going to happen anymore. But like I said, my friend decided she wanted to go to Japan. She lost the opportunity. I picked up the opportunity. I picked up the opportunity, and I thought, well, it's quite nice. I like it. I can handle this.
So describe for us the difference between overseas audiences and audiences in the state.
When it comes to jazz, there really is no difference.
Really?
There really is no difference. The jazz audience it's a universal language. And if you like jazz, you're going to clap for the solos. You're going to know where to clap. And people in Europe, people around the world, they know how to do that. Now, I haven't been extensively in countries like Africa or China. I hear that China is beginning to open up. Japan, though, they love jazz. Africa, even though I've been there, it's not the same response. That's the only, but everywhere else it's the same response.
So I think when we listen to your style of singing, that it's really personal. You have a very distinct style. What would you describe that as?
Well, I'll put it this way. When I first started out, I loved to hear singers like Nancy Wilson. She was I loved the way that
Mm.
she sang. They put on Sarah Vaughan. I wasn't too sure about that, and Ella Fitzgerald, and I thought, oh, okay. And then I said, well, I don't want to listen anymore because if I do, I'm going to copy them. And so I have always tried to be my own person because I just didn't want to copy anyone, but I still wanted to have the tradition, the real jazz music, the real scat. I wanted to have that. So that's maybe why I sound a little different because it's something that I was influenced by people, but I came up with my own style.
Your range is incredible. Talk a little bit more about that because not every singer can do what you do.
Well, I don't say it's unusual, but I will say I give all credit to my last singing teacher. His name was George Peckham from Seattle, Washington. I had lost my voice after I'd been singing for about 13 years. I couldn't even answer the phone. People would hang up on me because they didn't hear anybody struggling to say hello.
Oh
And I went
my.
to the doctor to find out what was wrong. What can I do? Because I'm miserable. I'm sick all the time. And he gave me a prescription for George Peckham. Who does that today? No one. I just came along at a great time. And George Peckham taught me how to think about singing. It's not something physical, it's the way you think about singing. So at my age now, I can still sing this about the same as when I was, young
So talk to me more a little bit about
girl.
thinking about singing. So what
I'll put it this way. He used to tell me all the time, you don't have to be a veterinarian to know how to ride a horse. So what he meant by that was you don't need to know what everything in your throat is doing in order to make your singing come out correctly. You have to think in one way. One way is one note right after the other instead of one note on top or on bottom of the other. Like if you would sing do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and you see people doing that all the time, up and down. But he taught me how to sing one note right after the other. It's right in the same place. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, instead of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And so
so
that
it's just
limits you.
that movement,
The linear movement.
linear movement, forward thinking sort of
Mm-hmm.
movement.
Mm-hmm. And he also taught me how to breathe because a lot of times people, when I grew up and I went to conservatory, you would put the yellow pages on your stomach and try to breathe. That was what people did, But he taught me how to breathe. He taught me how to breathe from my back, which is just a little muscle that we don't use very much. But it's the reason why babies can cry for hours and never tire.
So the physicality of singing was something that he taught you, which was very important, right? You
I
really
guess
have
you
to.
could say that, but basically what he was trying to do is make it so much more simple that you didn't have to think about all the technical aspects of it in order to make your voice work. And that really helped me out a lot. And it saved me from thinking, oh, I'm in my chest voice. Oh, I'm in my head voice. A lot of people think that way. You hear it on The Voice or you hear it on the American Idol. You hear them talking these words, but it will shorten their career.
So what about young artists? Are
Hmm.
you mentoring anyone? Do you, when you talk to young artists, what do you tell them? What do you tell them?
I do. I do mentor young artists around the world. I do workshops, and people come to me. When I was in London a few months ago, there was a young singer that came and I said, well, where are you from? She said, I'm from Latvia. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's far away. She said, I came all the way to hear you because I
Really?
transcribe all your solos. And I thought, oh no, I'm sorry, Abby. Uh, oh no. But I thought that was interesting. I'm sending a young girl now to a jazz workshop that I'm doing in Spain this summer, 26. And she's talented. She's from Poland and just wanted her to have that experience. And so the organization on both ends are helping her get there so she can have that experience. And I tell them all the time, I tell them, You have to enjoy singing. You have to enjoy it. I would love to sing country western music, but I don't want to be around country western. Maybe this sounds, I don't want to have the vibe of the country western people. I enjoy jazz people,
Yeah.
country
Yeah.
western people, hip hop people, pop music people. You got to choose the people you want to be around. I like jazz people. I'm not saying I don't like country, but I do. Because nobody was singing. No, there was no other black singer that was singing country western music. But I can sing it. I mean. So I tell them all the time: be comfortable with the kind of music that you want to do, because you're going to be around those people.
So, talk to me about the Count Basie Orchestra and your experience with them, and what's coming up in a few days
You
in
know,
Kansas City.
the International Jazz Day 2026 is going to happen on April the 30th. And on that day, the Count Basie Orchestra is going to be in town. Last year, I hosted a jam session, and they came to the jam session. They didn't want to leave. It was fantastic.
I
We had
can't even
such a great time.
imagine.
It was like being in the old days. Musicians coming out from the wall and everybody coming up, and young guys, they didn't quite know, but that there was the older ones that were mentoring them right there on stage. And we had singers. Denise Time, she came all the way from
Oh,
St.
from St.
Louis.
Louis. Yes,
And there
yes.
was other singers there too. So it was really a lot of fun. But let me tell you about the Count Basie experience for me. Many years ago, I was working in Missouri. I was working in the Ozarks, and I had a horrible accident in one of the cabins there, and I ended up
Mm,
in the emergency room
ICU. Yeah.
for 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. And at that time, Count Basie, I'd been planning on being in Kansas City when the Count Basie was there, because my mother was the dean of music for the Charlie Parker Academy, and they were the ones that were hosting him. And she told them about my singing, and Count Basie wanted to meet me. But I wasn't able to be there because I was in the hospital. And that may have changed the trajectory of my career. I don't know. But fast forward X amount of years later, I got a call from the band, and they said, there's a singer in Kansas City we would like to work with. And that was Deborah Brown, because we heard her at the jam session last year and we liked it. And do you have charts for a big band? Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready. I wasn't ready when I was in my 20s. I wasn't
and
ready.
and so
I
there
wasn't
you
ready.
are. There you are.
So I'm ready now. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then also I'm going to perform another concert with them in Illinois after that.
That is amazing. So how are you feeling about Deborah Brown these days, and what do you see in terms of your next steps?
Well, we were just talking about, me and Rod. We're talking about, the guitarist was talking about Tony Bennett. Tony Bennett, when I was working and living in Las Vegas, um, everyone knew how wonderful a singer he was, but he wasn't really a popular singer with the new generation. And they wondered, why is this wonderful singer not? And then Rod was telling me that one of his managers had told him that, we need to have you to perform for younger people, so go on MTV. He said, nobody goes on MTV. Nobody's going to know me on that. But that opened the door for him for many more people,
Wow. Yes.
to hear his music. And then, of course, later on, Lady Gaga gets involved, and a lot of different artists. And all of a sudden, everybody loves, Tony Bennett, and he's where he should be. So I just thought that was interesting. Sometimes certain doors open for you, and whether or not you want to step through it or not, it's there. But so far, right now, I'm very satisfied with the fact that I play with the most wonderful musicians around the world.
In the world.
They know my music, and people, the concert houses are selling out around the world. Maybe not so much here in Kansas City, but around the world they are.
So as we wrap this up, um, what continues to inspire you?
Well, young people inspire me. People that come up to me and say, I love jazz. I'm like, you do?
You're
Um,
surprised when
I
young people
I
tell you
I
that they
am.
love jazz?
I am. I am. And they're sincere about it. And then they begin to sing, and I'm like, they know the vernacular. And I love it because jazz is an international language. And there's a library with jazz. And if you don't fit into that library, you're a pop singer or you're another kind of singer, but you're not jazz because you need to know the language. And that inspires me when young people come up and tell me they want to be in jazz music. And I know that makes me feel good because I am at the end of a legendary. There's a lot of legends that have already passed on, and I learned from them and carried me through the next generation. And it makes me happy to see young people carry on that generation because I'm near the end of a legendary career. I'm not saying I'm not going anywhere. I will
No,
probably
you're
be
not.
singing the day before I die, just like my teacher. My teacher was singing the day before he died.
Really,
Yes, he
seriously.
was, because he could.
Well, speaking of inspiration, you've been an inspiration to me since I've met you, and I'm sure those of who are watching today are inspired by Miss Deborah Brown. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.